Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tuesday Tips with Susie. Thank you for joining. I'm sorry I've been missing in action the last couple of weeks. There's been some family issues. In particular, my mom is not well, and I've had to attend to her instead. So I will be coming back as often as possible. So welcome. How's everybody doing? So, have you ever wondered why you ruminate over thoughts over and over again? Have you ever wondered how you can stop this rumination? The negative thoughts that we repeat over and over and over again in our mind. You see, when we do that, it wreaks havoc on our psyche. And not only that, it's really exhausting to do that. In addition, it creates negativity and it breaks down your physical body. What happens when we ruminate over our thoughts, and the negative thoughts in particular, it creates stress in the body. And when there's stress in the body, then stress hormones are released. Stress hormones in turn create inflammation in the body, and that becomes a host for physical illness and disease to set in. So it's not only something that is going on in our mind, it actually affects our emotions and it affects our physical body. You know, we all go through times in our life where we ruminate about something because we're trying to find a solution to something and we're trying to deal with something that has happened in our life. And so it's normal that that happens from time to time. But what's not good is when it happens on a regular basis. It becomes an obsession. And so much so that you can't think of anything else. And it freezes you. It stops you from moving forward in your life and accomplishing the things that you want to do in your life. When I was dealing with my BDD and eating disorder, I would ruminate over and over again about the negative things I saw within my body, the negative body parts. It even went deeper than that. I thought I wasn't good enough. I know we all go through this when we're dealing with BDD. But the point is that it starts to ruin our lives and we can't concentrate on what we want to do. So what happened for me as I continued to ruminate over the negative body parts that I saw, my self-esteem went down, my self-worth went down, and it actually started affecting my relationships with my partners, my husband, my family, and it became a vicious cycle. And I had to find a way to stop these negative thoughts that I was constantly thinking. So why is it that we do ruminate? There is a belief that possibly you'll gain insight into something going on in your life, some kind of a problem. So we go over the thoughts over and over again, hoping to find a solution. Another reason, and this is very prevalent with those of us that deal with BDD, is that we have a history of emotional or physical trauma. It is so difficult to take a look at that trauma that we've experienced. So instead, we start to pick on our physicality. And we start to ruminate over and over again about the lack that we see within ourselves. Another reason could be is that we're facing ongoing stressors that we feel like we can't control. We can't control what's happening in our life and what's happening around us. So we start to ruminate negative thoughts constantly. See, rumination is common in people who possess certain characteristics, certain personality characteristics. One of those is perfectionism. It's so common with those of us who deal with BDD. We want to be perfect. We see a flaw in our body, and perhaps we are exaggerating that flaw. Perhaps we don't see it the way others see us, and that's usually the case. We want to be perfect, not only in what we look like, but in some of the things that we want to do. We feel that if we want to accomplish a goal, whether it's a financial goal or it's a relationship goal or obtaining a job, we feel like we have to be perfect before we can go after that goal. But we don't. we can start from where we are and take steps to achieve that goal. You ever hear of the adage that says it's progress, not perfection? Making progress is where we gain. When we feel like we have to wait till everything is perfect, we'll never move forward and take those steps or risk what we want to do. Another thing is that another common characteristic is that we obsess. We have obsessions that we can't control, and so we start ruminating. And another characteristic is that there's an excessive focus on our relationships with others and with ourselves. These are common characteristics of people who ruminate. You see, you're the one who creates the experiences in your life. No one else. You're creating these experiences. Everything that comes to you from the power of thought. You see, your thoughts are energies that attract experiences, people into your life to have those experiences, and even things. So we think a thought, and we continually think that thought, whether it's positive or negative. And as you continually think that thought starts to grow. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you put emotion behind it, and it sets it into motion. It sets that thought into motion. So it's the fuel that creates. So you have a thought, whether it's negative or positive, you continue to think that thought and you put the emotion behind it, and that's how manifestation is. That's the magic of manifestation. You have a thought, you put the emotion behind it, and you continue to do that, and eventually that thought is going to manifest. So you see, if you want to change the negative thoughts, change your story so that you're creating a positive story. Change your story to what you want it to be. Now, when you tell that story, it may feel false at first. It's like, oh, Susie, who are you kidding? That's not true. I can't believe that. But do it anyway. The more you continue to change the thought, you change your story, that is what's going to become dominant, and that is what is going to be created. It may feel silly at first, but do it anyway. Because when you change your story to the way you want it to be, you're actually moving away from the negative thought and the rumination of those negative thoughts, and you're creating something more positive. And as you begin to positively focus and starting to feel good about that positive thought, because you will eventually start to feel good about it, and whether it's about your body or about your facial feature, or it's about something else in your life that you want to create, you'll begin to feel the power that creates the worlds that are flowing through you. Now, another way to do this is to visualize what you want to happen rather than what you fear will happen. Okay? I did an exercise with you just a couple of weeks ago, was the whiteboard technique. So if you remember, the whiteboard technique was you visualize a whiteboard in front of you or a white screen, and you put up on that board, you visualize and put up on that board a scenario or a situation that happened that you weren't too happy about. You weren't happy about the outcome. You weren't happy about the emotion that was there. So if you had a negative emotion, you put that up on the board, like fear or frustration or anger. And remember what we did from that. We erased it. We used the energy in our hand and we erased that situation that was on the board. We erased that feeling. And then what we did is what we put up on the board or on that white screen, we visualized what we wanted that outcome to be. We visualized ourselves doing the right thing. We visualized ourselves being happy and healthy and whatever else that you felt that you needed to change. Okay? So that is the same thing with changing the thought process into something more positive. So that's another way to do it. So what I'd like to share with you right now are 8 tips for addressing rumination and how you can shift that. Step number 1 is to interrupt the thought and distract yourself. I've talked about this in the past, about distracting yourself. This is something we can do when we have these ruminating thoughts. We distract ourselves by doing something different. Change the cycle. Distract ourselves by reading a book, watching a movie, doing chores around the house, calling someone, taking a walk around your neighborhood and having gratitude for the beauty that's in the neighborhood, walking out in nature. These are things that we can do to distract the negative thoughts and the rumination that we're constantly doing. Again, taking action. We have to take action. So if you change nothing, nothing's going to change. I'm sure you heard of this, that if you're going to continue to do the same things over and over again and expect different results, that's the definition of insanity. That is not going to change. You have to change what you're doing in order to get a different result. So if you're ruminating and you don't do anything about it, the rumination is going to continue indefinitely. We have to change what we're doing. So when you catch yourself dwelling on something, change it. Take some action. If you're constantly ruminating about what a bad person you are, or how ugly you are, or how bad you look, perhaps you need to learn how to love yourself. If you're constantly ruminating about a mistake that you made, learn to forgive yourself and how to get over the regret. Now, I shared with you in the past a forgiveness technique that you can do to help you forgive yourself. And you can go onto this page and put my name in the search, and you can find the videos that I have done, the lives that I've done, and I actually give you the forgiveness technique. It's so important that we forgive ourselves in order to be able to move forward and to get over the mistakes that we made. Recognize that you've made a mistake and learn from it. What can you do differently? If ruminating over a problem and you're trying to find a solution, you can't find the solution, perhaps find someone who has dealt with that issue and see what they have to say and how they've dealt with it. If you can't find somebody to talk to about it, perhaps get on the internet and Google it. As you know, there's answers to everything on the internet. So, hi Anna, thanks for joining. Hi Stephen, thank you. So Google it. You can always find answers there, or perhaps buy a book on the subject to help you with possibly getting a solution. If you're ruminating about a course of action to take, set a deadline and make a decision once and for all. Just pick something, whether you're trying to decide between A or B. Okay? Set a time frame and take some sort of action. At least you're doing something. If it turns out not to be what you want to do, what the action is, then you can always change directions. Okay? You're not stuck in having to make that decision. If you're ruminating about something somebody said to you and it hurts you and you can't address them directly, take out your journal. Write down your feelings, write down your thoughts, get it out on paper, because you're moving that energy that's stuck in your body and you're getting it out for you to be able to not have to keep it within. And if you're ruminating about something that you really kind of sort of need to do, just do it. Just do it and take the action. Okay? So, step number 3, question your thoughts. Question what you're thinking. Have you ever heard of Byron Katie? Byron Katie is a wonderful person who has come up with a technique that helps us in our lives. And it's 4 questions. Okay? Check out who Byron Katie is. She's fantastic. So, when you're thinking about something that's troubling you, or ruminating over a thought, ask yourself question number 1. Whatever you're thinking about, is it true? Is it true? Now, us dealing with BDD, we may say, well, yes, it's true that I'm ugly. Yes, it's true that my thighs are big. Okay. But the second question is, can you absolutely 100% know it's true? Can you absolutely know it's true? Have you tested it out? Have you asked other people? How do you know that that is absolutely true? It may be just your belief, but a belief is just that, a belief. It may not necessarily be the truth. You know, my dad always said to me, a man and woman are in an argument, or you're in an argument with somebody. There's one person's viewpoint they believe to be true. There's another person's viewpoint that they believe to be true, but then there's the real truth. So there's three sides to truth. One person's version, the other person's version, and then the real truth. So can you absolutely know what you're ruminating about is true? Then ask yourself, how do I react? What happens when I believe that thought? Do you shut down? Do you become depressed? Do you hide yourself? Do you start to do the crazy BDD behaviors, body checking? Do you start to withdraw from society? What is it? What happens when you have those negative thoughts? How can you change that? How is it serving you? Those negative thoughts are not serving you. And lastly, if you did not have the negative thought or rumination over those thoughts, who would you be without that thought? Would you be happier? Would you take action in your life more easily? Will you be more at peace? Will you feel your self-esteem rising? Okay? Who would you be without that thought? A lot of us who have these negative thoughts, we identify ourselves with these negative thoughts. We come to believe that that's who we are, but they're not who we are. These are just thoughts, okay? So think about it. Is it true? Can you absolutely know it's true? How do you react when you have this thought? Who are you when you believe these thoughts? And who would you be without these thoughts? Step number 4, readjust your life's goals. You see, perfectionism can lead to rumination. When you set a goal that is unrealistic, you may start to focus on why and how you haven't reached that goal, or you should have reached that goal, or you should have done it sooner. You see, when we feel we have to be perfect or look perfect in order to move forward in our life and achieve the things we want to achieve in life, it actually holds us back. It's like having a goal to want to create more financial abundance, let's say, okay? But you feel you're not perfect in what you need to do. You feel that I can't do what I need to do because I need to be perfect. So as I mentioned before, you can take the steps forward by making progress before perfection. You know, I've come on here and I didn't feel I was perfect coming here to speak with you. I didn't even know what I was going to speak about when I first started, and I didn't even know how I was going to start. But I thought I need to start anyway. Did I have some fear? Absolutely I did. But I needed to take the steps to do this because I know this is what I really wanted to do. Am I perfect? No. You've seen me sometimes, make some mistakes or hem and haw. Okay, so what? But I know I'm giving valuable information. So you don't need to be perfect, okay? Take baby steps. If you are, hi Valerie, thank you for joining. Take baby steps. If you are ruminating about this body part or facial feature that you don't like, okay? Take baby steps. I've talked about body neutrality in the past. Take the step to try to accept your body for what it does for you. If one of the things that you do is cover up your body because you're embarrassed about it and you think everybody else is seeing what you see, and you're wearing a sweater up to here, maybe take a baby step and pull the zipper down just a little bit. Okay? Do that. Little baby steps. If you're body checking constantly in the mirror, you're doing it 10 times a day, make an agreement with yourself. Make a commitment to yourself that you will only do it perhaps 8 times that week. The next week, perhaps you'll do it 5 times. You see, as we take these baby steps and you reach that goal, how good does that feel? The goal doesn't have to be so huge. It doesn't have to be so big where you feel like, oh, I can go from body checking 10 times a day and then I'm not going to do it at all. That seems overwhelming and almost impossible to do. It's okay to take baby steps. And when we do that, you feel good about yourself because you've accomplished something. It actually raises your self-esteem knowing, oh, I can do this. So when you're doing this, take note of it. Take note of it and write down every time you've accomplished something. Little by little, you'll start to feel good about yourself. And yes, it's scary. Like I said, not easy for me to come on here when I first began, but that's okay. All right? Going along with that, again, work on enhancing your self-esteem. Now, people who ruminate, there are reports that they have difficulties with self-esteem. You know, the lack of self-esteem can be associated with increased rumination. It's also linked to increased depression. So by enhancing your self-esteem, you'll be able to perhaps lessen the rumination. So some people may choose to work on the enhancement of self-esteem in psychotherapy. You can do that. But I just given you some tips that you can work on that by taking steps towards helping yourself little by little. Another thing that helps with stopping the rumination is meditation. Meditation is a wonderful tool to calm the body, calm the emotions, to be able to center yourself and to ground yourself. It's a wonderful tool. Now, if you're first starting out with meditation, yes, the thoughts are going to continue to come through. But if you can, just observe the thoughts going through. Don't place a label on it. Just notice, oh, I'm having a thought. I shared with you in the past the meditation on twin hearts. And you can, again, find it on this page or send me a message and I can share it with you. So that meditation is the one that I love to do. It's extremely helpful. And so try that one. And Stephen, thank you. Yes, I do have a YouTube channel with all of the Facebook Lives that I've done on here. So if you can't find it on here, go to my YouTube channel, Susie Grusin, and you'll find all the videos there. Hi, Natia. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to step number 7 is recognizing what your triggers are. Okay, so if you're starting to ruminate, take note of what the situation is, what time of the day it is, who's with you, where you are, and just keep a track record of what is going on when ruminating is starting, when the rumination starts, okay? That would be helpful. And so you can develop ways to manage the triggers so that you won't ruminate as often. Again, I did a live about triggers. Nice to meet you too, Natia. I did a live about triggers, and you will see that and how you can manage your triggers. So this is all tying in. And again, therapy. I know it's really hard. You know, if you can do therapy, you would say, well, I'd be in therapy for my BDD. That's very difficult. But if you're lucky enough to do that, therapy is very helpful. And if you can't, try some of these steps. I also want to share with you a different type of therapy, something that I find incredibly helpful and I've used, and I think I want to be able to share this with you so you can see that there's another way. You know, I've talked about energy before and the aura and the chakras and pranic healing. There's a segment in pranic healing called Pranic Psychotherapy. What is pranic psychotherapy? It's the application of pranic healing techniques to help alleviate emotional and mental imbalances. You see, negative emotions and traumatic experiences are essentially negative thought forms and emotional energies that get lodged in the aura and the chakras. Negative thought forms. As I mentioned, you have a thought, positive or negative, and you repeat that thought over and over again, and it becomes a thought form. It's like this little amoeba that's sitting here in the energy field. Okay? So that's what happens. So the energies are actually difficult to release, and it requires months or perhaps even years of traditional psychotherapy. However, as we know, therapy can be very helpful because in traditional psychotherapy, the patient or the person starts to bring up their issues, they talk about their issues, their negative thoughts and their feelings and their experiences. And initially, it's very cathartic for the patient, but it has somewhat of limited success. See, it feels good for the patient to have these stuck energies moved, because as we're talking about it and we're dealing with it and we're bringing it up out into the open, these energies are being moved. You see, but without removing these energies completely from our energy field and from our chakra system, what happens is that without any repatterning to follow, it generally results in the patient or the person recreating the problem. Okay? And that's what happens. It's like with addictions. That's why many times people go through therapy and they relapse over and over again. You see, with Pranic psychotherapy, it offers the ability to quickly and safely release the crippling energetic patterns. In Pranic psychotherapy, advanced extraction techniques are used to release these energies. It's used on the affected chakras so that phobias and compulsions and addictions can be relieved and quickly in a quick period of time. Now, Pranic psychotherapy can be used alone, which is great, but it also can be used in connection with traditional psychotherapy. So it's twofold. And I have used it on myself, and I have worked with people who have had BDD and phobias and fears using Pranic psychotherapy to help them move along quicker in their recovery. See, I actually just worked with somebody, believe it or not, who was afraid of heights. So afraid of heights that it was actually causing an issue in his relationship. You see, his partner loved to go to Disneyland and go on all the rides. And my client would sit with his eyes closed, hold on to the ride for dear life, and come off feeling totally panicked. I did Pranic psychotherapy on him, and within 2 sessions, believe it or not, 2 sessions, he was able to go on the rides, keep his eyes open, not even hold on, and actually enjoy the ride. So that is somebody who has a phobia. Okay, with BDD, we have a lot of obsessive thoughts. We're feeling crippled by what we're going through. I have worked with people successfully who have BDD and eating disorders. Now, I'm not here to promote myself. I'm just here to share with you what this can do for you. So, by extracting these negative energies out of the chakras and our auras, it dramatically accelerates the healing process. Say, purging negative programming that we've acquired during childhood or traumas or emotions that keep us held back. This type of therapy is actually beneficial because it goes to the root cause and it clears out those negative energies that get lodged in there. They get stuck in there and they get buried. And that's part of the problem why we can't overcome some of our fears and our addictions. So a phobia is nothing more than traumatic fear energy or a fear thought that is in our system. And when they're removed, the person usually feels a lot better. Now, depending on the person and how deep the traumas goes, depends on how many sessions you need. But it's a way to be able to release these quickly. So a traumatic experience may produce repeated feelings of fear, poor self-esteem, insecurity, futility, and even indifference. And when we think about these for a prolonged period of time, it produces these negative thoughts and strong inhibiting effects. So, for example, phobias, obsessions, and compulsions are actually thought entities. Now, don't think that these are big monsters. Again, it's like a little amoeba that sits in our energy field, okay? And they get lodged there. So, for instance, the phobias and obsessions and compulsions can get lodged in our solar plexus chakra, which I talked about the chakras in the past. It's that soft spot in between the rib cage, okay? Right here in between the rib cage. And this is called the seat of our emotions, where we hold on to all these negative feelings constantly. And if they stay there, they just grow and get bigger and bigger and produces even more stress in our body. Fear is lodged in the throat. So we remove that fear energy that's lodged in the throat. So after we remove these energies, I ask that you repeat affirmations, positive thoughts, because it's like having a dirty cup, and then pouring in clean coffee, okay? Putting in clean coffee. You don't want to drink new, freshly brewed coffee into a dirty cup, right? So with affirmations, it's great to have them, and it's wonderful, and they are very helpful. However, you're putting in these affirmations into something that is already clogged with dirty energy, dirty thoughts, negative thoughts. So what we do in this Pranic psychotherapy is we remove the dirty thoughts, okay? And then we put in the clean thoughts, the more positive thoughts. So I hope you find this very helpful. If you have any questions about it and you want to learn more about it and what that's all about, feel free to send me a message on this page. You can send me a private message and we can talk more about it. And if you're interested, I can help you find somebody in your area who can help you, and you can find a Pranic psychotherapist. So I appreciate you coming here. I also want to let you know again that I'm opening up my Zoom meeting so we can practice some of the pranic healing techniques to help clear our energy field, to do the meditation, to do the I am the soul affirmation that I've mentioned to you about in the past. I'll go through this once a week. So if you want to join and practice, you have nothing to lose. Why not join me and see how it helps you? If you like it, we'll continue. And I think you will find it very beneficial. At least you feel like you're taking action. Remember, taking action? So it'll be this Thursday, October 7th, and I set it up for 11 a.m. California time, Pacific Standard Time, same time here. When I did my poll, many of you said that you're in the UK, and so the best time you felt it would be, the UK time would be 7 p.m., so that's why it's 11 a.m. here in California. And if you want to join, see what that time would be in your time zone. And you can find the Zoom code, and I'll put it up here again in this Facebook page, but I'll put it up again today so you can join if you would like. So please join me. What do you have to lose? Okay. So thank you again for joining. I hope you're all doing okay. And all right, I will see you again next week. All right, everybody, take good care. Bye.